Well, good afternoon. I'm delighted to welcome Secretary Carter and our friends from Australia, Foreign Minister Bishop, and Defense Minister Payne. Julie and Maurice, we're really happy to have you here in Boston. We've been delighted to be able to give you a slight taste of this great city, which I have the privilege of calling home. And I think it's been a very constructive and solid exchange of data and things that we tend to agree on, but where we've been really able to set out an agenda. And I want to thank the Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and so many folks from the Pentagon from coming up here to share their views and to be part of this discussion, and likewise from Australia. We also held in-depth talks on the importance of maintaining peace and stability in the East and South China Seas. Freedom of navigation and overflight are among the most essential pillars of international maritime law. And that is why we urge the claimants in that region. We are not a claimant, but we urge the claimants to halt any further reclamation, construction, and militarization of features. It doesn't matter how big a country is, the principle is clear. The rights of all nations are supposed to be respected with respect to maritime law. And together, the United States and Australia are also taking steps to grow our economies in a way that is inclusive and sustainable. The new trade agreement, the Trans-Pacific Partnership, which we are both partners in, will bring greater growth, wider prosperity, and higher labor and environmental standards to all the nations that participate. And finally, we also discussed sustainable management of our ocean and fisheries. And we agreed to continue efforts to address illegal fishing and to work toward a truly ambitious and meaningful climate change pact in Paris later this year. And I'm delighted that Foreign Minister Bishop accepted our invitation to take part in our ocean conference next year in Washington. In closing, I want to thank the members of both the U.S. and Australian delegations for their very hard work for a constructive and candid exchange. President Obama and our entire administration are strongly committed to this relationship, and our talks today have given us a platform for further progress and for what I am absolutely convinced will be a very productive next few months and on into 2016, when we will conduct our fourth Australian-U.S. ministerial meeting. Pleased to yield the floor now to Secretary of Defense Ash Carter.
Thank you so much, John, and welcome everyone to Minister Bishop, Minister Payne, and to your entire team. Thank you for joining us here in Boston to carry on this essential tradition, gathering each year to safeguard the health and the spirit of our strong alliance. Our alliance remains strong. Its reach is global, and our nations remain a cornerstone of peace and prosperity in the Asia-Pacific and in the world. And in that spirit, earlier today, Minister Payne and I signed a bilateral statement on defense cooperation in the 21st century. Our joint statement is aimed at prioritizing strategic areas for our partnership in the era ahead, including increased intelligence sharing, improving multilateral and defense industry engagement, and fine-tuning interoperability between our forces. We're also building on ongoing cooperation, such as our Force Posture Agreement, which remains an enduring framework for the initiatives our governments embarked on in 2011. Since 2013, our Marine Rotational Force near Darwin has expanded more than fivefold to 1,150 Marines, making the U.S. military presence more geographically distributed, operationally resilient, and politically sustainable in that region. Australia and America both want to sustain and renew an Asia-Pacific regional security architecture where everyone rises and everyone prospers. That's the essence of the U.S. rebalance toward the region. At the same time, We share an interest in upholding basic international norms, such as freedom of navigation, as the Secretary of State has said, and the free flow of commerce. Together, our nations favor peaceful resolutions to disputes and oppose coercion and infringement on well-established international norms, especially in the face of rising tensions in the East and South China Sea. Now, make no mistake, the United States will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law allows, as we do around the world, and the South China Sea is not and will not be an exception. This is simply not simply a U.S. commitment. Our two nations are joined by an increasing number of countries in the neighborhood, including Japan, the Philippines, India, and Vietnam, all with an interest in prospering while solving regional issues. And the United States stands ready to continue our role as a pivotal security partner in this region, as we have done for over 70 years. To that end, our strong defense partnership with Australia will continue to anchor regional stability and strengthen our capacity in a variety of other areas, including disaster relief and response to humanitarian crises. Over time, our nations have seen security challenges shift and evolve, but the foundation of our country's relationship has never wavered, a foundation built on our values of freedom, democracy, and a rules-based order. Today, by deepening our alliance, we renew those values and stand resolved to defend them together. Thank you.
Mr. Bishop, thank you.
Secretary Kerry, Secretary Carter, we come together at a time of increased global volatility, and it's worth remembering that for over 100 years, the United States and Australia have stood together to defend our common interests, our common values. Indeed, we've been prepared to not only defend them, but to fight for them. The rule of law, freedoms, democratic institutions. It is 75 years since we commenced formal diplomatic relations by the exchange of ambassadors, and I'm delighted that Ambassador Beasley and Ambassador Berry could be part of our respective delegations to carry on that strong diplomatic tie that we have. We discussed tensions in our region due to territorial claims, and we are on the same page with the United States when it comes to the claims in the South China Sea. We do not take sides on the various territorial claims, but we urge all parties to not act unilaterally, to not act in a way that would escalate tensions, and that there be primacy given to the principles of freedom of navigation and freedom of overflight, and will continue to work together to press those principles on all claimants in the South China Sea and elsewhere. We have the shared goal of a denuclearized Korean Peninsula, and we discussed at length our relationship with a number of pertinent and relevant countries in our region. In that regard, Australia has welcomed since 2011 the rebalance of the United States in terms of its defence and security cooperation in our region. As I've often said, the nations to whom I speak in our region wish to see more leadership from the United States, not less leadership from the United States in the Asia-Pacific. And we congratulate the United States on its role in concluding the negotiations for the Trans-Pacific Partnership. This agreement is surely the economic manifestation of the rebalance, and Australia was proud to be a part of this process. We believe that this is a major economic breakthrough for the United States and Australia and the 10 other countries that made up the TPP. We would welcome other countries joining it, for we see this as an unprecedented opportunity to liberalise trade in the interests of job opportunities and economic growth for those countries who are part of the TPP.
Our next question will come from Brendan Nicholson from the Australian.
Thank you. Secretary Kerry and Carter, there appears to be a growing expectation that the United States intends to send a naval vessel into the disputed areas around the reclaimed islands in the China Sea. Can you confirm that that's a likely prospect and when might it happen? And to all of the ministers, the US Navy's prepared a report, I understand, on the feasibility of extending the range of ports and facilities it uses in Australia. And are you able to give us any details of what might be envisaged, what sort of ships, what sort of infrastructure might be needed to accommodate them? And what sort of cooperation can Australia provide to the United States, or would be willing to provide, in the South or the East China Sea?
First of all, just to repeat something I said in the statement at the beginning, and we have said repeatedly, we will fly, sail, and operate wherever international law permits. We'll do that at times and places of our choosing, and there's no exception to that, whether it's the Arctic or the sea lanes that fuel international commerce widely around the world, or the South China Sea. Moreover, since you asked about the South China Sea, our approach there, and we discussed this with our Australian colleagues, has several other features to it that are very important. First of all, the United States, as Minister Bishop indicates, agrees with Australia. We don't take a position on sovereignty issues. We do take a position, and we've said this for a long time, that these things need to be resolved peacefully. And in the meantime, the United States continues to call for all parties to halt further reclamation and any further militarization of features in the South China Sea. And very importantly, we continue our own efforts under the rebalance, and the effect of uncertainty and excessive military activity in the South China Sea is having the effect of increasing our maritime cooperation with many countries in the region. They're asking for more interaction with the United States Navy, you mentioned, and that extends from Vietnam to India, to the Philippines, to Japan, which is doing more in general in this part of the world to support the rules-based order in East Asia. So it's having the effect of very much increasing the desire to cooperate with the United States in the Asia-Pacific, cooperate with its rebalance, and particularly to work in the maritime domain, and we are committed to meeting that demand. And I should say that in the case of Australia, it's easy because our navies, and this gets to another part of your question, have been working together for decades. We work together in the closest possible fashion, in the most trusted possible fashion. And whether it's amphibious forces or air forces or naval forces or undersea forces, or I need to say in this day and age, as Minister Payne suggested, cyber forces, all those areas, we in Australia remain incredibly close. And so that's not a new thing for us in Australia. But for others, we're doing more, and the appetite to do things with the United States is increasing.
On the issue of the South China Sea and territorial claims, before I hand over to Minister Payne on the naval resources issue, we are committed to a rules-based international order, and that means adhering to the principle of freedom of navigation and freedom of overflight. And Australia has a deep national interest in the freedom of navigation and overflight in the South China Sea, because about 2/3 of our merchandise trade passes through those seas. And we have said consistently and persistently that the reclamation and construction work carried out notably by China, but by many others, should halt, that there should be peaceful negotiations, and while we don't take sides on territorial claims, we urge all parties to resolve it peacefully and in accordance with international norms, and norms of behaviour. We do note and we do welcome President Xi's statement when he was here in the United States in Washington that the Chinese government did not intend to militarise the Spratly Islands, and we welcome that statement and will certainly hold China to it. And we will continue to work not only with our ally the United States but with the other ASEAN countries in ensuring that any issues in the South China Sea are resolved peacefully and that there be no acknowledgement or no support for any coercive unilateral behaviour that escalates tensions in the region, and we call for a de-escalation of all tensions in that regard.
Let me reinforce Ash's statement in relation to our existing extensive naval cooperation, which is a relationship of very long standing and something which I think we both value enormously. Part of the discussions, as I indicated over the last couple of days, have been in pursuit of further combined training, further exercises as part of that cooperative arrangement between our navies. And we stand certainly ready and willing to engage with the United States in relation to visits by their Navy both within the region and within Australia.